The winter of 1939 did not merely bring snow to the forests of Karelia. It brought the mechanical, rhythmic grinding of a war machine that believed itself to be invincible. A sea of khaki uniforms marching across the ice with the arrogant certainty that Finland would be nothing more than a footnote in the expansion of an empire. As the Red Army advanced with heavy tanks and artillery that made the earth tremble like a wounded beast, a man of short stature and hands calloused by years of farm work prepared for the impossible, driven not by a thirst for glory, but by the icy calm of one who understands that survival is the only law remaining when civilization collapses. Simo Häyhä was not a career soldier forged in luxury military academies. He was a son of the frost, a hunter who knew every whisper of the wind and every secret of the trees, and who now, armed only with an old Mosin Nagant rifle without a telescopic sight, transformed himself into the personification of a nightmare from which the Soviets would never wake. The tension of this opening conflict lay not in great explosions, but in the suffocating silence that followed every step the invaders took. A silence that seemed to observe, judge, and finally, condemn those who dared to defy the border. Simo positioned himself in pits dug deep into the snow, compacting the ground so his shots wouldn't kick up telltale dust, placing snow in his mouth to hide the steam of his breath, becoming an invisible extension of the Finnish landscape. The weight of a cold that freezes eyelids shut, and the creeping paranoia of a troop that realizes, too late, that the true danger is not an army in front of them, but a single pair of eyes watching from somewhere between the infinite white and the void. As the weeks bled into months, the reports reaching the headquarters in Moscow ceased to be military logs and became tales of pure horror. Descriptions of officers who collapsed mid-sentence, struck by bullets that seemed to materialize from nothing, without the glint of a lens or the roar of an advance. The human drama here reaches its peak as we witness Simo's absolute solitude. A man spending entire days motionless at 40 degrees below zero, sustaining himself on dry bread and snow, maintaining a mental discipline bordering on madness to ensure his heart didn't beat faster than necessary. This was not merely a war of territory, it was a war of nerves where the White Death became an omnipresent specter, stripping the enemy of their humanity and reducing proud soldiers to trembling wrecks who feared even their own reflections in the ice. The metallic slide of the bolt, the smell of rifle oil, which was the only warmth he knew, and the sight of hundreds of bodies left behind like ice statues, serving as grim milestones on a road that led only to defeat. The viewer's curiosity is fueled by the impossible question, how does one man alone paralyze the advance of a superpower using nothing but patience and a will of iron that refused to shatter, even as the sky above him was torn apart by saturation, bombings desperately trying to erase his existence from the map? The Empire, wounded in its pride and terrified by the shadow Simo cast, threw everything it possessed against him, from elite snipers trained to hunt the impossible to heavy artillery barrages that turned entire forests into cemeteries of charred stumps in a frantic attempt to kill the ghost. The moment of highest tension occurs when fate finally catches up with the invincible. A Soviet explosive bullet finds Simo's face, shattering half of his jaw and plunging him into a darkness that everyone believed was the end of the legend. A violent contrast symbolizing the end of purity and the final sacrifice of a man who gave his own identity to save his land. The drama lies not just in the wound, but in the almost supernatural resilience of being rescued by comrades who claimed that half his face was gone, yet his spirit clung to life with a force that defied the medicine of the era. Simo survived, but the man who entered the forest never truly left. What remained was a living scar, a face that became the war mask of a nation, a permanent reminder that freedom has a cost written in blood and paid with the eternal loss of innocence. When the guns finally fell silent and the Moscow Peace Treaty was signed, what remained was not the jubilation of victory, but a heavy, uncomfortable silence that seemed to emanate from the very wounds of the earth, a void left by thousands of men swallowed by the Finnish white. Simo Häyhä, the man who had become a myth before he became a corpse, woke from his coma on the very day peace was declared, as if his body were mystically tethered to the rhythm of the conflict. emerging from a death-like sleep with a reconstructed face that would serve for the rest of his long life as a visual testament to the price of resistance. He did not seek medals or parades. He retreated into the solitude of the forest he once protected, living for decades as a ghost among the living. A hunter who now preferred the company of shadows to the noise of a society desperately trying to forget that, for 100 days, death had a name and an iron sight. The final curiosity we leave with the audience is the enigma of his own nature. When asked years later how he became such a lethal marksman, he replied with only one word: practice. This simplicity is perhaps the most terrifying element of all, suggesting that any man, under the right conditions of pressure and despair, can become an unimaginable tool of destruction. The snow may cover the graves, the echo of the White Death's shots still resonates in the darkest pages of history, warning us that some men are made of an ice that no sun can ever melt.